Get ready to go on a trip.
Maybe you could have a digital shaman that could take you through the process of taking LSD if we understand it well enough that we could standardize it in some way.
Meet Ivanna Rosendal, a transformational leader on a mission to help patients gain safe access to novel treatments and technology.
I think there's actually an interesting case to look at here, because LSD has been around for a very long time. It was used mainly recreationally in the 60s and 70s. Then it fell out of grace, even though there were, in the 60s, very promising clinical trials for using LSD to treat depression, anxiety, and other disorders in the same category. Now LSD is coming back and looping back to PTSD and the treatment of, the potential beneficial treatment of Jack O'Neill, so he wouldn't want to nuke himself so much.
Jack O'Neill is one of the main characters from today's science fiction story, Stargate. An incredible tale of interplanetary connection and ancient history.
Stargate is one of my favorite movies because it combines both the ancient and the futuristic. It's not really a sci-fi movie. It's more a movie about anthropology and ethnography. It combines both the ancient and the futuristic.
Stargate is a science fiction adventure about Special Operations Colonel Jack O'Neill, who must get back into active duty following new revelations in a secret military project. A project related to an ancient Egyptian artifact that was discovered in the 1930s, but now it provides a means for the military to travel to another part of the universe. The artifact is a Stargate, and it was previously used by an entity that the ancient Egyptians recognized as the sun god, Ra. Colonel O'Neill accepts the mission as a suicide mission. It's a classic case of PTSD.
This movie especially is about PTSD, LSD, and about behavioral treatment. And those are things that are occupying me a lot, especially these days. When I was a child, shortly after the Soviet Union collapsed, we had an ex-soldier live in our house who was in the war in Afghanistan. And he would have these outbursts, like rage attacks or something like that. He was the kindest, funnest guy to play with sometimes, but then he just would have these fits, and you knew that you had to back off. Only later did I realize that he had PTSD following the Soviet war in Afghanistan. For me, that was kind of the first time I experienced mental health issues up close. And it's always fascinated me since, trying to figure out, so what could have been done for this man? I actually don't know what happened. He moved out of our house again, and I hope he's fine and living his best life. But I don't know.
The ex-soldier probably suffered from PTSD, much like Colonel O'Neill. In the movie, O'Neill returns from his trip, and we see that his PTSD is actually gone. Unfortunately, there isn't a Stargate in the real world that could do the same for ex-soldiers. Or is there?
There's a parallel when it comes to LSD, because LSD has been around for a very long time. It was used mainly recreationally in the 60s and 70s. Then it fell out of grace, even though there were, in the 60s, very promising clinical trials for using LSD to treat depression, anxiety, and other disorders in the same category. Because LSD is showing very promising signs for treating post-traumatic stress disorder. The regulatory framework for administering something that is classified as a drug is difficult. But we've had it for a very long time. We've known its properties. We just felt that it was morally wrong to even explore LSD. It's not like taking a chemical drug that will make its way through your throat and into your stomach and then just do its magic. The trick to being able to use LSD as treatment is the process around it. What shows significant differences is when you are guided through the process by someone who understands how it works and guides your experience towards the areas where you are trying to achieve healing or understanding of your condition.
A treatment that relies more on guidance rather than pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics.
And that complicates things and challenges us as an industry because we're not used to that kind of treatment. We like to have drugs that do their own thing, and we try to cut back on hospital staff as much as possible. Whereas here, you have something that is very labor intensive on the experienced staff we have at the hospitals. But this is, I think, where digital therapeutics could potentially come in, or this whole range of behavioral apps that standardize some sort of scale or process that has been verified clinically. Because maybe you could have a digital shaman that could take you through the process of taking LSD if we understand it well enough that we could standardize it in some way. Or perhaps you could have a central shaman that could guide multiple people at the same time through a telehealth device. Who knows? We have not tried that.
A digital shaman, capable of guiding us through mental health issues and getting us back on track. It's a return to the ancient in a modern form.
What if we imagine that? I mean, there would obviously be some regulatory hurdles to jump through just to have the conversation with the FDA or the EMA and say, this is the area we want to explore. We want to understand, can we standardize this? Can we make this kind of treatment accessible, for example, to all veterans returning from combat zones? Could we offer them all an LSD trip to open up their minds to processing the experiences that all of them had? And do that in a cost-effective manner so our militaries could actually afford to pay for something like that. But that could potentially eradicate PTSD, or at least to some severity. The less severe PTSD could potentially be solved with something like that. Sometimes you need to make adjustments to your lifestyle, behavioral changes.
We could technologically create a solution like that today. AI and the dissemination of apps is almost ubiquitous at this point. The only thing standing in the way is our own perception of what it means to create a treatment, and perhaps our imagination with regards to the power of data.
I think the biggest change we have in the digital age, if we can call it that, is the amount of data that we give to our devices and that we collect from in various sources. And all of that data, I don't think we have understood yet. How can we take that, everything that we already give freely without necessarily collecting anything else? How can we take that data and apply it for the common good? Right now, the way that our data is used is mostly to sell us more things from the companies that we give the data to. But this is a resource that I don't think we've fully grasped the potential here. There's so many possibilities to combine the data in novel ways and really understand, so this person who we know is clinically depressed, buys ice cream on Tuesdays and gambles on Thursdays. And then having this benevolent AI shaman who can help guide that person, say, well, dear friend, let's address the root of the problem here instead. Let's try changing this behavior. Let's try adapting here and there. But it's also a question of ownership of data, because right now our data is owned in multiple different places. We have not categorized data as a utility or something that is state-owned or owned by ourselves as individuals, which in my opinion would be the best way to deal with the data problem, because it's our own data. We produce it, we should own it. So figuring out the legal framework is where I think we need more innovation and not so much on more collection of data. If we could figure out how to who owns it? How do we collect it? How do we use it for the common good? And who can decide how we use it? That would really lead to more innovation in this space.
It would require a paradigm shift in our understanding of what a treatment is. And in many ways, you could say it's quite revolutionary.
I guess we talked about the need for a new paradigm that could also be related to the revolution in Stargate. That's what this planet they eventually do. They revolt against Ra and take back control of their own planet. This could be a metaphor of how we as humans and patients have the opportunity to take control back from the large companies that deliver healthcare solutions today. Maybe there are other ways we can develop and deliver solutions than we currently do, and also fund them in more distributed ways than necessarily just funding one company at a time. Maybe we could all fund the research that we need. There is an example of that, the Crohn's MAP vaccine, which is developed by, I don't remember which university in the UK, but they crowdsourced, I believe they're in phase 3 clinical trials now. They crowdsourced the funding for conducting their trials with people who have Crohn's disease. And it's showing real promise. Imagine a vaccine for Crohn's disease. That would be amazing.
Crowd-funded research and a paradigm shift regarding treatments. With these concepts, what does our future hold for us?
It would be accessible healthcare for all. It would be a healthcare that is preventive, that you can that helps you build a life where you can keep a sustainable pace, taking care of your health, and not being something that you have to introduce into your life after you get sick. I believe that the way to eternal life is through staying healthy and avoid getting sick. And this is where behavioral therapy in small doses throughout your whole life, I think that's what's going to save us there.
Digital shamans and trips through the stars. Perhaps the future of healthcare is going to be more fun than we could ever have imagined. And perhaps that future is just around the corner. My name is Faisal, and you have been in the circle.